Good day, dear students. Today we are starting a new topic or a new paper, and the title is Indian Writing in English. As you all know, you are also getting an introduction which your teacher will be giving, and this is just to supplement what she has been telling or what she is giving you. The history of Indian writing is elaborate, so no amount of detail will be anything more because it is all needed. So what I'm going to tell you about Indian writing in English is more about how the term Indian writing in English came into existence. Earlier, the name was Indian English writing. So somehow or other the modification came out instead of Indian English. It is Indian writing in English which should be the correct form. So we have Indian writing in English. So when we think of Indian writing in English, the first thing that comes to our mind is colonialism. And the rule of the British in India had promoted a lot of English speaking and English writing people, and even though we were totally against the rule of the British, their contribution to India is their language, because this language helped us to get across the other nations and to converse with the people of other countries. India, as you know, is a country with unity in diversity. The states speak their regional language, and each state has their own regional language. So in order to have a coherence, even though language was chosen by the spoken by the most people, we know that this is not sufficient. So English came into prominence. So after independence, the progress of Indian writing in English was quite rapid, and it has got a lot of depth also, because earlier people wrote in English. There were writers who were writing in English from Bengal, from northern India, but much less of the southern India. You will find people like Nizam Ezekiel and a lot of writers like Ramanujam from south, and of course a great writer, the Bard of India, that is Rabindranath Tagore, writing in English. Not just poems, he wrote drama, he wrote novels, whatever it is that came to him, he wrote. And his writing of English, he wrote both in Bengali and English, and it was his poems were collected. Some of his poems were collected under the title Gitanjali, and this was awarded a Nobel Prize. He won the Nobel Prize for such an illuminating spiritual thoughts in poetry. Sarojini Naidu is yet another person of political figure, as well as a really good Indian writer writing in English. And again, you have any number of writers like Jawaharlal Nehru, and and of course Mahatma Gandhi is one person who could really converse and write English dexterously, and his writings were really that which is worth reading, and it is indeed the one book which will not be outdated. So this Indian English writing before independence was more like the people from India going over to other countries and settling there and writing from those countries, speaking of the nostalgic feelings about India. Again, you will find that taking a cue from Mahatma Gandhi, so many writers wrote about the social evils which should be removed from India. You have Mulk Rajanand, and you have the novel Coolie. You have also any number of the writers like the novels like Serpent and the Rope, about illusion and reality, and Kamala Markandeya writing in English, and nostalgic feelings. R.K. Narayan, of course, writing in English. All these are writers whom you will find or you will be familiarized with in this paper. But the writers before and at the time of independence were writers um, who lived during the time of the colonial rule of the British. So they had good English education, but some of them had not much contact with the people, the common people. Because if you were to get an English education, it means that you must be from an affluent family, and only these people could send their sons or daughters abroad for education, and even send to good schools where the English education was implemented. Hence, they could read and write in English, but at the same time, their feelings for India dominated in their writings. And at the time of independence, also, people used, especially Tagore, used his words to invoke among the people the feelings about our own country and creating. They all tried their level best in creating a new world of India and away from the shackles of colonialism. And that was dominant in all their writing. And you'll also find that people gave importance to Gandhian philosophy. So, Gandhian philosophy, in the sense that untouchability was a social evil, and this should be eradicated from our land, and only then India will progress. This is something that not just Gandhi found out, but a lot of other progressive thinkers of India found, and people who worked diligently towards independence. They all sat together and came to the conclusion that this must be eradicated. And so, getting inspired from these philosophical thoughts, the writers started putting it into practice by having themes which will have the same coloring, and also telling the story of the people of such people who belong to the lower strata of society. You have the story of the untouchables, you have the story Coolie, and you will also find a lot of other writers speaking of and writing about these people. And so there was an awareness of the untouchability that existed in India. Again, you will find that writers from the different states of India, as I told you earlier, they have their own language, regional language, which is their mother tongue, and they could also read and write English. So they started exercising or writing or putting their thoughts into English, even though they could write in their own mother tongue. So when they became really successful and they got the attention of the people of their state, they started using or they started writing in English, and this English writing became popular in the different states of India, that is all over India. And that was a real blessing, because these writers were presenting before India or to the Indians the condition of their own states and the local color of the state from which he or she comes is presented in that particular writing, whether it is a novel or whether it is a poem or a drama, whatever it is. They were able to represent their states through their English writing. And unity in diversity reflected in literature is because of the various ways in which this local color was presented in English, and that became the moving factor for Indian English writing. Then you find that there are a lot of issues that young India faced. I use the word young India because after independence, for a long time, India had to go through a lot of struggles. And these struggles India had faced, and in spite of criticism from the present generation against these factors, we can't just ignore the fact that India was able to do well or to try to find a solution for those problems. and young India became a mature India after that. So the way in which young India had to stand on its own 2 feet really took a lot of time and a lot of pressure and a lot of hard work from the leaders and also from the part of the people themselves. And now when we look back from where we are, we can be really grateful to those socialist issues which were eradicated at that time. And these people with a mind to work for the betterment of society had really worked hard in all fields of life. As a result of which we have the writers joining hands with the social workers or the people who aimed at the development or the improvement of the society, and these were they tried to put that in their writing also. So the main issues that young India faced were many, and I must tell you that untouchability or marginalization is one main factor. And again, you'll find a lot of issues that were there, and the terms that we use nowadays are indeed terms which will mean a lot to the people who are present in the present day. Like you will find the words like marginalization, and you find where the people of a particular caste being pushed to the margins, and again they are not given a chance to come up in society. So independence and our laws, rules and regulations, rules really gave them a representation, and that in a way improved their condition after independence. So these problems that young India faced were overcome by the leaders of that time. Again, you will find that regional languages were indeed a great barrier for the proper understanding of a state by the others of India. Suppose we are talking in Malayalam, suppose we don't talk in English, then a person from Bengal may not be able to understand what you are saying, let alone read the famous works in Malayalam. So what are we to do about that? In the same manner, there are a lot of great works in Bengali, and in order to read them, you have to get it translated either to our regional language, which thankfully we have a lot, and we also have English translations. So the literature of regional languages, or those genre of literature like drama or even a novel, especially novel, these were translated to English so that people from all over India will be able to read and enjoy that. Otherwise, if it is translated to just like, for example, Malayalam novel will be translated to a Tamil, and the Tamil novel will be translated to Malayalam. So these two regions will be reading and understanding what is happening, or the skill of the writers of these two regions. But if it is to be read by the most of the country, then it must be translated into English. So translations from regional languages to English became a great norm, and so some of the great works in Bengali and Marathi and even in Malayalam and even in Tamil, they got translated to English. And there is, of course, the original English writings by a lot of writers who could really handle both languages, that is their own regional language as well as English. So they tried to write in English, and their English is a modified type of English, but at the same time it was good English and it was accepted by all. You will find that there is a perfect example of A.K. Ramanujan, who translated a lot of regional verses, regional literature into English. This is not a haphazard translation, and he speaks of translation in such a manner that this is a kind of a research, so that the translation is done without actually losing the spirit of the original work. You can have different types of translation. You can translate just the idea from one language to the other. You can also have a word-to-word translation, which will be losing the idea from a poem if you are not careful. So you have to have the proper type of translation in order to convey the idea as well as the beauty of the language to the others. And so these translations really played a very important role in the development of Indian writing in English. And the original English writings also started progressing, because you find these people, especially the subaltern, coming up and writing about their experience and the experience of their ancestors, and through their words we can understand how untouchability was such a thing that is to be remembered with the pain. And this is something that we have to keep in mind, because from where we are standing there is no untouchability. We have eradicated that to a great extent even from India. Of course, maybe in some certain area it may still be there, but mostly when you are sharing a platform with the other people in a professional college, you are grateful to the Indian Constitution and also the work of this Indian writing in English for the bridge that is brought to link the regions together. So these original English writings help in this linking. And then the presence of the Indian scenario, and that is the presence of the Indian scenario as such, that is, as years pass by, you will find changes coming up, and people are now taking for granted that India is an independent nation, that we are free from the colonizers. Of course it is so, but there are still a lot more to be done in India, because we are just starting the building of a new nation. And as it is with all the beginning, you find that there is indeed a lot of things that is to be considered. And one main factor was partition, and that proved to be how do you know about partition? It's not just that we read the stories of partition from the newspaper alone. It is not just that. Of course, the newspapers gave us those news reports, but we have to remember that English newspapers were scarce in those days. So how do we get to know about that? First-hand information is of course from the novelists, the fiction writers and short story writers, and these portrayed the condition of or the impact of partition in their particular region. You will find several such novels in that particular region, especially from northern India, and also from not just novel but also short fiction. And some of them were not translated, but we found some being translated to our Malayalam. Maybe that is a great credit to our Malayalam language and the people who had taken the initiative to get them translated from those regional languages. But the fact is that they also needed translation into English, and only then it will be read and understood by the people around. Because as you find that you have a lot of books in Malayalam which are translated from other languages, and you can read them well and understand the anguish of the people of that particular region. You feel one with them. You find Kannada translated to Malayalam, Tamil translated to Malayalam, Marathi translated to Malayalam, then Bengali, of course, lots of Hindi translated to Malayalam, and so you find almost all the major languages of these regions of India being translated to Malayalam. But that is because we as people of Kerala are interested in reading. So what about the people of the other states? For them, unless you translate to English or unless they have proper situation in their country to get it translated to their regional language, they will not be knowing the real truth about either partition or about the condition of the people who had undergone certain lots of agony during that particular period. So this presence of Indian scenario is a factor which the writers will have to consider when they are writing in English, and they are indeed doing that. You will find in your syllabus a number of writers. Of course, they are all, most of them are from the other earlier papers, and the only exception maybe is a presence of the Northeast in Indian writing in English. This is the first time Northeast is being represented in Indian writing in English, and you have Temsilao and her writings, and in order to understand that properly, you will have to understand Northeast. This is why it is said that the presence of the Indian scenario is a factor which we have to consider when you study Indian writing in English. Then let's speak about the development of diaspora. Diaspora is the nostalgia of the people of India settled abroad. You find several very good writers from there. They can read and speak English well, but their writing was all about India and not about the country that they are settled in. And so this is one fault with the diasporic writing. But you will find that this development of diaspora is all about the nostalgic feeling. So it continued for a long time, and this developed for a long time. We had only the writings of these people, and so there is later the progress of fiction came about, and you find the fiction of Tagore being translated to English. Again, you will find writers writing in English, and they are getting awards also, and you will find a lot of writers from India, not settled abroad, but settled in India alone. They could really handle the language well, and they also started writing fiction, and it became really a progressive fiction. You will also find Khushwant Singh as one such famous name, and there are any number of writers. So these writers were presenting India as they had seen and lived, or living as it is, not writing from abroad where they are cushioned and they have nostalgic feelings about India which they had seen once in a while, and they will be coming to visit in India occasionally. And that's not what we have now. We have live fiction in English now, and the themes that they deal with are themes that an Indian goes through while the country is progressing. This is the same with drama and also of poetry. In the field of drama, you will find a tremendous impact made by Girish Karnad, a name worth mentioning. And you have a drama of the Girish Karnad to study. Every year we used to have one because he is very good with the folk drama, or he combines the elements of the folk lore and folklore into his drama and into his theme, and creates a magic world and a lot of dramaticality into it, that he became the last word in drama. So you'll find him the one person, maybe the one person in the field of drama worth mentioning. And if you take poetry also, you will find that it is indeed poetry of so many people, and you have poems from the different parts of India. They are people who can speak their regional languages, as I told you earlier, plus they could really write and read and write well in English, and because of that they were able to present themselves through their poems. And you have Dom Murray, Nizam Ezekiel, and these are people who could really write well and they in English, and they have themes which are related to India and the Indian themes alone, because They are people of India and they really enjoy the presenting the Indian scene through their English writing. So they were trying to write and write about or the Indian themes rather than copy the English writers. Maybe some of them tried to copy the English writers, but mostly had an idea that when they write in English, they should be totally Indian, not imitating the English and the English literature or language, or in a way English poetry. Or there is that certain type of for example, when you speak of English literature, you have Victorian and Victorian age, Romantic age, characteristic features of classicism. All these are there, and you can't put India in age wise, because India or Indian in writing in English had not developed to such an extent. It is, but even then, that kind of classification will come much later. As it is, you have to take them in their own way, because you will find that it is something that Indians are progressing towards and which they can really come to, they can deal with as the time goes by. So we'll have to wait and see how it is going to be in the later times. Okay, so you find that it is in a way something that is replacing the diaspora, because the main criticism against this diasporic writing was that they are no longer in India. They are writing about a country which they had seen in their younger days. They have not seen the India. Maybe they have heard about it, but they have not lived in India of the times. So naturally, there is a trend in moving and replacing them, the diasporic writing, and so the publishers and the others started encouraging the Indian writers. Moreover, they were given a chance to explore the language, and at the same time they will have something to speak to the world through this Indian writing. And the burning issues of middle-aged India were so many, and these issues were dealt with in this Indian writing in English and also in the regional languages. I must say that it finds its first presentation in regional languages, and only after that it will come to the forefront in English, through English. And that is something that we have to understand about Indian writing. And the themes of literary genre, like prose writing, and there was much development of prose writing, though not much of criticism. But you will find the history of Indian writing in English was compiled not by one person but several people, and that also shows that they have put in certain prominent figures there. Not all of them, but only certain prominent figures. And you will find that list is not complete. They have they included certain people, but they have not included certain very important people. And that is a handicap which we will have to accept with this compiling of history of Indian writing in English. But you will find that this will be compiled, or this will be rectified as the years go by, and if somebody comes forward to do that. You will also find that in the modern times, the new genre of translation, or the problems with the translation, you will find that several researchers had started translating Indulega into English, and they have given detailed explanation of the problems that they encountered, and that in a way is a great aspect or asset to translation studies. So in a way, Indian writing in English gave way to translation studies and the problems faced by the translators from the regional languages to English. And maybe that is again the other part is also there. That is a lot of English writings were translated to Malayalam or to the other regional languages. But mainly we are dealing with translating the regional languages into English, because there are readers who are waiting enough to read that, And so naturally, this is considered to be a great or an important aspect. And the Kendriya Sahitya Akademi and the Sahitya Akademi of the regions, they are also taking the initiative to get the regional languages translated to English. So you find that the culture or the diversity of India is indeed something that we have taken for granted. It is not just in the culture that is India is united. In spite of the difference in culture, there is now a common platform, that is writing in English, and that gives people a leverage over other regional languages, and so they were able to speak of the problems of the regional language or the limitations, and also about the regional culture, folklore, anything and everything could be done in English, which can be read by not just by the people of India alone, but the people of other countries too. So you have a group called Commonwealth Literature, and that is to be mentioned here because even now the countries which had been under the rule of the British colonizers had united, and their writings and their different aspects were expressed. And this Commonwealth meeting or the Commonwealth get together gives a platform for all these people from India, people from Africa, and from the other countries which were colonized by the British. And all these countries use English, and their English also gives them a platform to express the dilemma or the better aspects of their country through English, so that they can share their experiences and learn from them. So there is that factor, that is the different themes, different genres, and also different platforms which are still going on. So you will find Commonwealth literature where you have a sharing of the literature from the other Commonwealth nations. So that, for example, you can have literature, or you can learn about Adichie and her writing, and again African literature, and also the literature from the other countries, and all in English. But what they are presenting is not a replica of the British literature or British novel or anything. Earlier it was like that, but now it is not. And so you get the authentic presentation of either Africa or China or whatever country that belongs to the Commonwealth, under that Commonwealth banner, being presented in English. So in a way we can say that English has progressed to such an extent that Indian writing in English has reached a zenith where you have a lot of writers sharing this platform and sharing their experiences. And the syllabus that you have now have all these, and a lot of poems. Of course, the poets are all from the earlier collections, but even then their themes are different. And you will also find prose included, which are entirely new prose works. And as I told you, in short fiction you have also a few writers, as I told you, Northeast being represented for the first time. And you'll get more details about Northeast, because I'll be taking that particular part for you later. So we'll start the class with a poem first, and then later a short fiction, and when you get the book we'll start the drama. Okay, so in that manner we'll start our classes, and I hope you are eagerly waiting for the next few classes. So thank you, and have a good day.